Now, Canada has announced that it will limit the intake of international students for the next 2 years. Canada's Immigration Minister Mark Miller has announced a cap on the number of student visas to be granted over the next 2 years. Now, the cap is expected to translate into 3,60,000 approved study permits this very year, which is a 35% decrease as compared to 2023 itself. Now, he has stated that in recent years, the integrity of the international student system has been threatened and some institutions have significantly increased their intakes to drive revenues, and more students have been arriving in Canada without the proper support they need to succeed. Now, he has also further stated that rapid increases in the number of international students arriving in Canada also puts pressure on housing, healthcare and other services. Now, to better implement the plan, the Immigration Department has stated that it would allocate a portion of the cap to each province and territory, who will then distribute it amongst their designated universities. Meanwhile, with us on the broadcast is Colonel J.S.O., who is an international affairs expert. Sir, now it is no secret that the largest proportion of international students in Canada is that from India itself. A number of Indian students vie to go to Canada as young as the time since they are in school. A lot of people also go there for their postgraduate degree as well as doctorate degrees also. Now, Canada, of course, has been needling India constantly. The Justin Trudeau administration has leveled some very serious charges that has in fact put him in hot water over the last couple of months or so, especially after the G20 summit that was held in New Delhi. Now, this is of course a latest statement that has come in. Do you think this is sort of a snowball effect of the diplomatic row between India and Canada, because of course Canada is also reeling under their own domestic issues, but India has also earlier of course told that we will not issue visas, something that we eventually rolled back. So are they looking at reducing dependency on Indians, especially Indian students, and the revenue we bring to their country?
Pia, after Canada had leveled false allegations against India over the assassination of Nijar last year in September, just after the G20 summit, there was a drastic drop itself by the Indian students wanting to go to Canada. And as per a report published in December, there was an 86% drop in Indian students wanting to go to Canada for higher studies. So this move which has been taken by Canada is not to kind of punish India, because Indian students had on their own, for the love of their nation, decided not to go to Canada in large numbers. This is primarily because of two reasons. One is there is an acute housing shortage in Canada, with Canadian authorities over years had been, giving a blind eye, and there was scores of foreign students coming, and now they are at a stage where they cannot give accommodation. The other reason is Canada, America, and the West have realized of late that the Chinese students are one of the highest number of students who come to study in any Western country, and they come there to study science and technology primarily. And this science and technology that they study in Canada, America, and the West, they take back to China and use it for their military purposes. So now there is a silent crackdown on the number of student visas being given, especially to the Chinese students, because the USA and the West have realized that China has overtaken America in terms of military power. And one last thing, Priya, I would like to say, since last many decades, the Canadian students had been going to China to study language and culture, whereas just like I just said, that the Chinese students had been coming to Canada to study science and technology. So that is where the difference has come in. That is where it has propelled China to a world power, and which is now affecting Canada and the other Western countries. And now there's a clampdown on the number of student visas to be given silently to the Chinese students, because they're the biggest threat to any Western country.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.